Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Daily English Practice. I'm Emily, and today we're going to learn 50 useful English phrases for everyday conversation. These are simple phrases you can use at work, at home, while shopping with friends, or when meeting someone new. I'll explain when to use each phrase and give you a natural example so you can understand how to use it in real life. Let's get started. When you meet someone, the first thing you might say is, "How are you?" This is one of the most common ways to ask someone how they feel. For example, "Hi, how are you?" The other person might say, "I'm good, thanks. How about you?" You can answer, "I'm doing well, thank you." Another casual phrase is, "How's it going?" This is a friendly way to ask how things are going. For example, "Hey, how's it going?" You could answer, "Pretty good. I've just finished work." Another useful phrase is, "What have you been up to?" Use this when you want to ask what someone has been doing recently. For example, "Long time no see. What have you been up to?" You might answer, "I've been really busy with work." When you meet someone for the first time, you can say, "Nice to meet you." For example, "Hi, I'm Emily. Nice to meet you." The other person can say, "Nice to meet you too." And when you see someone you haven't seen for a long time, you can say, "Long time no see." For example, "Emily, long time no see, how have you been?" You can answer, "I've been great. How about you?" Now let's look at some natural responses. "I'm doing well." Use this when someone asks how you are. For example, "How are you doing?" "I'm doing well, thanks." You can also use, "That sounds great." Use this when someone tells you about an idea or plan that you like. For example, "I'm going to the beach this weekend." "That sounds great." You can also say, "That's a good idea." Use this when you agree with someone's suggestion. "Why don't we have lunch together?" That's a good idea. Another useful phrase is, "I agree with you." Use this when you have the same opinion as someone else. "I think we should leave early because of the traffic." "I agree with you." And when you completely agree with someone, you can simply say, "Exactly." For example, "Learning English every day is better than studying once a week." Exactly. Now let's look at phrases you can use when asking for information. Sometimes you're at work, in a shop, at a restaurant, or simply talking to someone and you need help. You can say, "Could you help me?" For example, "Excuse me, could you help me?" "Of course. What do you need?" You can also ask, "Can you explain that?" Use this when you don't understand something. For example, "You need to submit the form before Friday." "Sorry, can you explain that?" "What do you mean?" This is useful when you want someone to explain something more clearly. For example, "The meeting has been moved." "What do you mean?" "It was supposed to be at 10, but now it's at 2. If you didn't hear someone clearly, you can say, "Could you say that again?" For example, "The appointment is at 3:30. "Sorry, could you say that again?" "The appointment is at 3:30. "Got it. Thank you." If you don't understand a word or expression, you can ask, "What does this mean?" For example, "What does this word mean?" It means something that happens regularly. "Oh, I see. Thank you." When you want someone's opinion, you can ask, "What do you think?" For example, "I'm thinking about changing my job. What do you think?" You might hear, "I think you should consider your options first." Sometimes you don't know the answer or you haven't made a decision. You can say, "I'm not sure." For example, "Are you coming to the party tonight?" "I'm not sure. I might have to work late." If you need more time before making a decision, say, "Let me think about it." For example, "Do you want to join us for dinner tonight?" "Let me think about it." Another useful phrase is, "It depends." Use this when your answer changes depending on the situation. For example, "Are you going on vacation this summer?" "It depends." What does it depend on? "It depends on my work schedule." And if you believe something is probably true, you can say, "I think so." For example, "Is Sarah coming with us?" "I think so." "Are you sure?" "Not completely, but I think she is." Now let's talk about making plans. You can ask, "What are you doing today?" For example, "What are you doing today?" "I'm working until 5. "What are you doing after work?" "Nothing special." You can then suggest, "Would you like to have dinner together?" Another useful question is, are you free tomorrow? For example, are you free tomorrow? Yes, I am. Why? I need some help with a project. When you want to invite someone to join you, say, do you want to come with us? For example, we're going to the mall this afternoon. Do you want to come with us? Sure. What time are you going? Around 3. When you agree with a plan, you can say, sounds good to me. For example, how about we meet at 7? Sounds good to me. And when you have agreed to meet somewhere, you can say, see you there. For example, I'll meet you at the restaurant at 8. Great, see you there. Now let's look at some useful phrases for work. If someone asks about a task you are still doing, you can say, I'm working on it. For example, have you finished the report? I'm working on it. I should have it ready this afternoon. When you agree to handle something, you can say, I'll take care of it. For example, can you send this email to the client? Sure, I'll take care of it. If you need to check something before answering someone, you can say, I'll get back to you. For example, do you know what time the meeting starts? I'm not sure. I'll check the schedule and get back to you. If you're busy and want to discuss something later, say, can we talk about this later? For example, do you have a minute? I want to talk about the project. I'm busy right now. Can we talk about this later? If someone gives you useful information, you can say, thanks for letting me know. For example, the meeting has been moved to 3 o'clock. Thanks for letting me know. Now let's learn some phrases you can use while shopping. The first one is, how much is this? For example, excuse me, how much is this? It's $50. If you don't need help from the salesperson, you can say, I'm just looking, thanks. For example, can I help you find something? I'm just looking, thanks. If you need a different size, you can ask, do you have this in another size? For example, do you have this in another size? Yes. What size are you looking for? Medium, please. When you are ready to pay, you can ask, can I pay by card? And when you decide to buy something, you can say, I'll take it. For example, I like the black one. I'll take it. Now let's look at some phrases for asking for help and directions. A very useful, polite expression is, excuse me. You can use it to get someone's attention. For example, excuse me, could you tell me where the bank is? You can also ask, could you show me the way? For example, excuse me, could you show me the way to the station? The person might answer, go straight and turn left at the traffic lights. If you are looking for a particular place, you can say, I'm looking for this address. For example, excuse me, I'm looking for this address. Let me have a look. It's 2 streets from here. You can also ask, is it far from here? For example, is the restaurant far from here? No, it's about 10 minutes away. When someone gives you extra help and you want to show that you are especially thankful, you can say, I really appreciate it. For example, thank you for helping me with my bags. I really appreciate it. You're very welcome. Now let's learn some natural expressions that you can use in many different situations. No problem. Use this when someone apologizes or thanks you. For example, sorry I'm late. No problem. You can also say, don't worry about it. Use this to reassure someone that something is not a problem. For example, I'm sorry I forgot to call you. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Another simple phrase is, that's okay. For example, sorry, I made a mistake. That's okay. I'll help you fix it. If you are happy to help someone, you can say, of course. For example, could you help me with this? Of course. And when someone suggests something and you like the idea, you can say, why not? For example, do you want to try that new restaurant? Why not? Sounds good. Finally, let's learn some natural ways to end a conversation. I have to go. For example, it was great talking to you, but I have to go. No problem. I'll see you tomorrow. You can also say, it was nice talking to you. For example, it was nice talking to you. You too. I really enjoyed our conversation. A friendly way to say goodbye is, take care. For example, I'll see you next week. Take care. You too. Another common goodbye is, have a great day. For example, thanks for your help. You're welcome. Have a great day. And if you expect to speak with someone again soon, you can say, talk to you soon. For example, I'll send you the information later. Perfect. Talk to you soon. And there you have it. 50 useful English phrases for everyday conversation. Remember, learning English is not only about memorizing words. You need to use these phrases in real situations. Thank you for watching Daily English Practice. If this lesson was helpful, please like the video and subscribe for more practical English lessons. I'm Emily, and I'll see you in the next lesson.